We're live, kid.
Sorry, I don't have the notification. Welcome to another episode of The Savior Saves, the IWC. Today I have a special guest because our topic today needs a lot more saving than just what the Savior has. So I went and got the greatest Savior of all, Jesus, as in Jesus Oliver. Welcome to the show.
Every once in a while, you need the word of Jesus to save you.
Yes, and with our topic today, which if you can't read the title, that's why you're watching the video, is about John Cena. And I know our views on Cena are a little bit similar, but there's a couple of things where we differ. So I figured this might be a little fun discussion.
Yeah.
Um, we'll talk about the first and our similarities. I know right off the bat we've both been impressed with his work lately, um, being the top spot on Raw since WrestleMania pretty much, and it's pretty annoying. There's still those haters out there that are like, oh, Cena can't wrestle, Cena needs to change, blah blah blah. What are your thoughts on that so far?
Well, just to tease our podcast that's coming up later in the week, you just said that John Cena was in the top spot since Mania, but technically he's relegated to the mid card. Because I don't want you thinking that Owens is now, relegated back to the mid card.
Well, I wasn't saying the top spot,
I
but I
know.
mean like the top segments,
I'm
like
ribbing you,
as
kid.
in best segments, most
Yeah, I
enjoyable.
agree. I just wanted to tease our topic for later in the week. But no, I
Yeah,
think that it's proving that Cena's at the top of the card no matter where, or top of. Uh, now I'm getting confused on my terminology. He is the best in the company. He doesn't have to be on top to be the best.
right. And the thing about it is everybody that he's wrestled different opponents almost on a weekly basis, except for like the it was like 2 weeks in a row we got to see him wrestle Cesaro. But other than that, it's been a new opponent every week, and he's put on a great match. And before the haters would say, "Oh, if he had the right opponent," so his matches were only good with like HBK or CM Punk or Triple H, Randy Orton, all the greats that we've had in the recent years. But lately, it's been great matches with Neville and Stardust, Wade Barrett, just anybody on the undercard or the mid card, whatever you want to call it. He's been putting great matches on. So I still don't
Consistently.
understand the "oh, with the right guy" argument. Thoughts on that?
I agree. I mean, it's not only has he been putting on good matches, he's been consistently putting on good matches. And I started a thing on my Facebook page today about, well, I did not see Raw. I saw everybody go crazy for the fact that he broke his nose. I'm like, I can't believe he continued. He better have continued. There's a reason he's on top. And the fact that he continued through that match with a broken nose and still put on what I hear to be a decent match is just evidence that he deserves to be there.
Right. And it's not that we think continuing a match with a broken nose is like not respectable or doesn't show toughness, but when you look at the world of professional wrestling, like that's the kind of stuff that happens and is expected of you. Um, we could go through so many injuries where people have finished the match and it's just crazy. But I don't know, maybe like you said, I think I've seen you say something about growing up in the Attitude Era, this was expected. And
Yeah.
so it's no disrespect. It's just for all of us that have lived through the Attitude Era, this is nothing new, and this is what is expected. So, but still, kudos to John Cena for that. Um,
Well, what do you mean expected? I guess I want clarification on that.
well, for us, I would say like if there's an injury like a broken nose, like we expect the match to finish. Um,
Yeah.
and not this like PG era where there's blood and they stop the match. Like I don't mind the doctor coming in and checking on him and then him
Mhm.
continuing. I because if something was seriously wrong, then I could see it. But um, lately they've been stopping matches for stuff. We hear about that.
Like
In
I
the
remember
big news,
the huge match with Christian. I believe it was a Money in the Bank. I know it was a ladder match where they stopped the entire match because Christian's bleeding a little bit. Like, come on,
right?
no, you feel the momentum. The thing that I like to clarify, and it might be a topic for another time, is I don't expect someone who's hurt to continue a match like Austin versus Owen Hart. Like, you don't have
Right.
to finish your match. You just got dropped on your freaking head. Powder out. But a broken nose, yeah, power through. Sin Cara breaking a finger, and you're like, oh my god, throw the X up. That's a joke. Like, you're a grown athlete. Man up.
Exactly. And I'm all for the safety of the athletes, but something like a broken nose or a broken finger or something that you're still functional with, like go ahead and finish the match. Something that's like concussion related or could be paralyzing or something, then
Yeah.
that's grounds for stopping. It's a different thing. But still, like we kind of seen this stuff happen all the time. Sabu was super glued his head during a match and continued. Like
Got ripped his bicep open and taped it shut.
yeah, different things like that. When you were growing up in the 90s, we saw. But um, the thing that inspired me to do this topic today, I seen this Facebook post, and somebody was saying, I don't see how a grown man can like John Cena. Like, I just don't get it. That was the post. It said a lot more, but that's just the gist of it. And that bothered me because on a couple of different levels. First off, you're saying that as a grown man, I have to follow other people and not like John Cena. That's kind of the opposite of what I believe a man does, like to be a follower.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, I first saw John Cena back in 2002. I was 14 years old. And he's been my favorite wrestler ever since. So why do I have to stop liking him? Is my question.
And I think the argument is the fact that people are idiots because while I understand, and this is where we possibly part ways on our arguments of love for Cena, is he needs character progression. So the fact that he's been the same character since you were 14, arguably, obviously not because he was in SmackDown, but for the last however many years he's been.
About 8 to 10 years, I would say.
That's what I thought. And he's been the same character, and that gets old. How can you like that if it gets old? Well, it's because I like a person for more than just their character. I agree. John Cena's character is garbage, and I thought we'd get some character progression back in, was it 2011 or so with Nexus?
2000, 2010.
2010 with Nexus. 2011 was Money in the
See,
Bank with Punk. Anyways, like we're sitting there like, oh come on, we're gonna get this finally. Like you don't have to turn heel. I've even written an article on this that should be on the site about John Cena, and what we're seeing right now with his open challenge is the fact that we're getting character progression, but it's character progression nobody really wants. I think like yeah, we can see Cena overcome the odds. We've done it for a decade now, overcome an odds at every freaking turn. But I think this is a new like caveat to his whole streak, and I'm really enjoying it.
yeah, this is something completely different. And my whole thing with Cena was if you look at his matches between like 2006, I want to say, and like 2008, he was wrestling like just the next monster. And he even said this in his promos before that they just threw whoever at him, like Umaga or the Great Khali, or there was probably a couple other ones, but there was like people that to me should not have been in that spot wrestling John Cena for the WWE title, but he was still put on those shows. He still put on. There were decent matches. He had entertaining promos. But when you throw in people that aren't on his level, like how much is he supposed to do? That was always my take, and I was just like, just wait until we get past all these, mid carders that are in the main event, and then he'll be good. And I've always stuck with him. And my thing was that the more people hated him, the more I liked him. The more I was like, no, I'm going to support John Cena because you have all these people over here saying, Cena sucks. And then I'm like, no, he really doesn't. And
It's gonna make you
the
hate him
going
more.
back, yeah, going back to the grown man thing, I always felt that if you're a man or you're like a teenager, not a teenager, but like a young adult or the older males, the guys that are booing Cena, you know, that 18 to 34 demographic, I always
Yeah.
felt they were jealous. Like that's the
Why?
way I got it. Because how are you going to sit here and say that he can't wrestle? That never made sense to me. But you have your children cheering for this guy and your wife cheering for this guy. So it's like I always thought that they were jealous because their children and their wife like probably looking up to this guy more than they're looking up to that dude, you know. And I'm like, well, that's why you say he sucks. I'm secure. Like I have nothing. I said it in that Facebook post today. I was like, um, as someone like I respect John Cena as a man, and so that's somebody I would love for my kids to be like: hustle, loyalty, respect, never give up, work hard, achieve your dream, all that stuff. Like, why wouldn't I want that for my children? Why wouldn't I support that? Why wouldn't I, like Steve Austin said, lead by example and say, yeah, John Cena is a good guy, like him, be like him. Like I don't understand why like you as a man would say, boo Cena, Cena sucks, but then like go buy the $20 t-shirt for your kid. Like eventually your kid is going to get the mixed signals.
You just broke up pretty bad. Say that last part again.
I said eventually your children are going to get the mixed signals.
I agree. And that's one of the things that's really confusing and the real big conflicting caveat to Cena itself. Like, yeah, he needs to change. He needs a gimmick tweak and stuff like that. But who's going to fill that role? Even he said it himself. Who's going to take that mantle when I leave or when I don't fill that spot anymore?
And the only other person that looks to be on the horizon to do that is Roman Reigns, but with the IWC, they're not looking at the big picture again, like we've explained before, and they're derailing that, which means they're derailing the Cena change that they're wanting because they're not smart enough to realize that what happens at the top of the card trickles down to the bottom.
That's a good point. Never actually thought of it like that.
And then another thing, we talk about character change, and I'm fine with this current character. I understand the progression argument, but I'm fine with I'm fine with the current character. I've always enjoyed Cena. I've always enjoyed him on the mic. My thing is I don't think he should turn heel at all. Not just because of the kids, but if we just look at what's going on from his reaction he's getting, I don't see the point in him turning heel.
Why?
Fans are booing him already.
Yeah.
So my thing is, if he turns heel, so not only are you going to have the people that are already booing him maybe continue to boo him, but now you're having all these people that are cheering him not care about him. Like now they're booing him. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, really, what good does that do?
I I'm stumped.
You see what I mean? And
Yeah.
then on top of that, so if the IWC is like a very pro heel, except for Rollins because he's good, but that's a different story. But they're very pro heel. They like the bad guys since the NWO. Like that's the thing now, is
Yeah.
to like the bad guys. So now we're booing Cena. If he turns heel, all the people that have been booing him for the past 10 years are now suddenly going to cheer him.
Yeah.
So why flip the script?
Because it fits some narrative that they created for themselves. I think it's
Right, but
one
what
of those you want this expectation. You keep building your like what we see all the time for pay-per-views. Like oh my God, Sting's gonna return at Battleground with Taker and shenanigans, and now they're saying the ending was terrible because there was no Sting. No, the ending was phenomenal. You don't need that. You have this expectation that Cena's gonna turn heel, and then you're gonna get upset because your expectations aren't met, however unrealistic they were.
Exactly. And their expectations they don't help the business at all. Like they want Sting to return at Battleground, but that made no sense storyline wise for him to return at Battleground. And now every week on Raw, I know this is getting off topic, but this has been bothering me. Every Monday until Sting returns, everyone's going to say, "Oh, do you think Sting's going to return tonight?" Like not realizing that Sting won't return until the Wyatt family gets another member.
Eh, I just don't even see a reason for him to return if they do.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole different topic.
Yeah, different topic.
But
Okay.
my thing is, I don't think he needs to turn heel because it's not going to do anything. All these people that are saying Cena sucks, you can't wrestle, they're all going to turn and say, "Oh, Cena's the greatest," and blah blah blah.
Well, I mean, it's what people did to Hogan for years. Oh, he's the same old boring character, and then they're like, up until a few days ago, we're like, oh my God, he's a real American. I
Yeah,
love Hogan. Like, who
it
cares if
just
I trash talked him for a decade? Now he's rose-colored glasses, and we love him.
that's called being worked.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. Like, why you want this guy to turn heel so that you can cheer him now? You're booing him already, so why does he need to be a bad guy? If you already have a reason to boo him, why does the WWE need to give you another reason so you can cheer him now? Like, that makes absolutely no sense. Because the kids are buying the T-shirts, the hats, the wristbands, but as a grown man, I'm just going to buy the T-shirt. Like, I'm not buying all the wristbands and stuff for myself. So it's a big money thing. I know that's cliche, but it's still like if I'm not even looking at money thing, like if you're already booing a guy, why do you need a more reason to boo him?
I mean, and I'm a little bit at odds with the whole. I understand your argument of the IWC will always root for heels, but even the heels that we have now, they're not rooting for.
They're not always
I
going to root for heels.
Oh, I know what you're saying. Let me finish. Is like for me, especially in the indie scene, I love heels. I just love watching them, and not because like, oh my God, they're the bad, they're the rebellion, but I love watching the way they work the crowd. Like to me, being a wrestling business, a fan of the business, and what wrestler has to do to extract a emotion from people is why I love heels. I don't love the NWO because of oh my God, everything they did trying to take on WWE and trying to tank a company, quote unquote. Like, I love them because of the reactions and the stuff that they did to get the fans to hate them. How they worked every wrestling fan thinking, yeah, we're actually going to take over WCW.
And that's a good point where you bring up the emotion that a wrestler enacts in the crowd. Because look at what John Cena does every single night. He gets the loudest response because it's good and bad at the same time. He has everybody in the arena going crazy for one reason or another. When you have people like, I don't know, like Cesaro, I would say, until recently, the only people that were really cheering for Cesaro were like IWCers that were
Yeah.
at the live events. So like, you're not gonna go down the street and ask an 8-year-old kid who like if their favorite wrestler is Cesaro. Like they're not wearing the Cesaro t-shirts. They're wearing the John Cena, the Randy Ortons. They're wearing those t-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like John Cena still gets that reaction. And so I don't understand as a fan of the business, like you were saying, I don't understand the point in changing anything. Like, yeah, he's still, but you know what? Every week, you guys, like, people are going to talk about him. His
Mm-hmm.
segment is going to be talked about. It's going to be, I'm tired of Cena winning. He needs to lose the title. But the whole point of everything is to get you to talk, and guess what? You're talking.
Yeah. And like it comes down to the big difference that we have is that I think John Cena needs to take a few months off. Because while his character's probably never going to change, we need a break. He needs a break. He's gone for how many years straight? He's at the top of his game, and they can't take him away because he's still a big money draw. I just think that he needs to rest his body so he can continue to be on top. That's the only reason Hogan was able to last for as long as he did, because he took a few years off. Where I'm not asking a few years, I just want 6 months.
He took a few years off while he was still champion.
You're confusing him with Lesnar. No.
Um,
Oh,
with that, oh man. Okay,
I
big
mean,
money. That's where you had me.
yeah.
Okay. What I think is funny is surrounding this whole Hulk Hogan controversy. Did you see that they lost $50 million in stocks? Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, I guess when the whole Hulk Hogan thing went down last week, they lost $50 million. A bunch of people sold their stocks, from what I understand. And
Dare I say it was WWE's pseudo Black Friday? Ooh, okay.
shots fired. So they lost $50 million. So now you know what the IWC is saying is that Cena is going to beat Seth Rollins at SummerSlam because he is a big money draw, and the WWE needs to put the title back on their money guy.
I don't see the logic in that.
I see the logic from a business standpoint. If I was a
Yeah.
WWE, I get it. I don't see the logic in the IWC saying, well, Cena is their top draw, so they need to put the belt back on him, but I don't want him to do that because Cena sucks.
If you want me to get into the business side of it all, that's a terrible idea for WWE to do. Because John Cena, it's monetary gains. This is what WCW did. Like, okay, we just need a bump for this short time. So now John Cena's going to shoot up to the top of the card. He's just going to dump this title for no reason. He has no feud anymore. I mean, who is he technically feuding with for the title? Isn't he done with Owens?
Yeah, because
Unless,
Owens got depushed.
yeah. I mean, I didn't watch Raw last night, so I don't know if he just did an open challenge or if that's going to lead to a storyline for SummerSlam. But
No, last night he challenged Seth Rollins, but the Authority in their almighty Big Show style heel face turns weekly um, decided that Cena will face Rollins for the U.S. title, and that was the match we got last night.
okay, but that's not even a long-term plan for booking. I mean, I guess I can see where they got the idea of that. I'm- It's just such a thin argument. It wouldn't make sense, long story short, because why would he then just leapfrog to that title?
Like, I understand it from storyline perspective. I understand why Cena is going to face Rollins at SummerSlam, and
Yeah,
I'm actually excited. Like, the article I posted one about why Cena and Rollins will be great, and then our other writer Anon posted one about Cena keeping the U.S. title, which leads to Rollins versus Cena as well. It makes sense and it brings prestige to the U.S. title,
yeah.
but um,
Here's my
for,
argument to it. If you're gonna do this, where you're gonna give Cena the title, then he's either gonna drop the U.S. title randomly to some talent, which could be okay if done right, because they're not gonna drop it to Rollins because they don't want to deal with the whole history of, oh my God, the first time someone said U.S. title and the WWE title, like they fumbled with Warrior all those years ago.
it would be they could reference Goldberg, but then they win it because that was the WCW title, and then it's not the world title anymore. So it's like,
Yeah. I mean,
but
it's just a slippery road that WWE won't acknowledge, so they can't really bring this up without dealing with some backlash, rightfully or not. I just think it's how do you do it? And I don't think there's a good outcome that people will then buy into. John Cena can be a champ all he wants, but it's a matter of what's going to happen to everybody else on that roster.
I'm not sure that a title versus title match is the way to go.
Yeah.
I think Cena versus Rollins is the way to go.
Yes.
But like I said in my argument or in my article, that Cena should drop the U. I don't think I mentioned that he should drop it, but he keeps these open challenges, and now it just makes it more believable that he does drop it.
Yeah.
You already had Cena versus Rollins for the U.S. title last night. So,
which is my argument then is, which is fine to cut you off. Sorry, like he can drop it at any time because that's the nature of the U.S. Challenge. But then, what happens to the rest of the mid card when they're not getting elevated week after week?
Cena won't be burying them. So what does it matter?
I mean, realistically, like not an idiot Mark, typical IWCer.
But yeah, that's the thing. So whoever wins the U.S. title from Cena, which I had this random thought a few weeks ago, and I meant to write it up, but I never did, was that Randy Orton should answer a challenge at some point. I know it's face versus face, but I just thought that would be crazy because here's another, main event talent facing off for the U.S. title. It just, to me, it brings more because you have two former world champions going head to head for this, mid card title, and
you might as well have Miz do it.
Yeah, well, because the Miz is awesome, so I wouldn't argue. But the Miz he would probably do it better than what he's doing in the IC title right now.
Yeah.
But
he needs to find his character again.
Imagine if Randy Orton comes out and challenges Cena in an open challenge, and on the road to SummerSlam, Seth Rollins interferes, because he's going to fight Cena at SummerSlam. So Rollins interferes, and Randy Orton wins, and now Randy Orton's the U.S. title, U.S. champion. Well, now you still have a main event guy defending the title that gives these guys, that could also bury Kevin Owens and Cesaro and all the other mid-card guys.
Yeah, and then, but has Orton finally been able to put aside his ego to do all that? I think that's another huge thing that a lot of people continue to forget about John Cena, is that his ability to set aside ego for the business.
Right, and a lot of people just and I've seen a couple of people say this earlier, everyone's mad because Cena keeps winning, but how much of that is really Cena winning? If you're going to say they're the WWE, Cena is the WWE's big money guy, why would you have him lose? Just think about that for a minute. Why would you have him lose if he's a big money guy?
I mean, and that's a testament to how much Cena cares about the longevity of the business.
And he is taking a step back, sorry for cutting you off, from the main title, the WWE World title. He took a step back for, since last year's SummerSlam. He did challenge it here and there throughout, but he hasn't held it since last year's SummerSlam. And now he's doing this U.S. title thing. It's a mid-card title that has been irrelevant. And he's like, hey, give me that title, let me make something of it.
Yeah, and I think it's just a testament to who he is for the business versus who he is as a person. Hogan never cared about the business. Hogan only cared about Hogan.
Did Hogan ever hold a mid-card title? He was tag team champs, I think, maybe. But I don't even know if he was tag champ. Oh, yeah, he was. He did win it with Edge, I know for sure, but I don't know if during the whole he ever won the tag title. Right now
for you as we talk.
Because I don't think the Mega Powers ever won the tag titles. I know they wrestled for them, but I don't think they were ever tag champs.
I don't know, but let's move on because this is going to take a few minutes.
So, my biggest thing with John Cena is the illogical arguments that come from the IWC about, oh, he can't wrestle, he sucks, his character is this and that. but yet they turn around and say he's a big money draw, so watch him be the WWE champion. Well, if he's a big money draw, shouldn't he be champion? Isn't that what the champion is?
Yeah.
Like, otherwise, you're saying that the title is just a prop and that Seth Rollins should hold it, but, like, what does it matter? But then when, JR says the titles are just props, you're going to jump his shit and say, no, they're prestigious.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't know. Like, the whole point of the main or the top of the card is to make money so the mid card can perform. Long story short, you need to make the money draw so the company makes money so they can do business for everybody else.
Yeah, if the top of the card's not drawing, then the lower card, the mid card, they're not going to draw either. Oh, speaking of mid card, and then I was thinking of Kevin Owens, since he got relegated back to the mid card.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I just lost my train of thought trying to make that Kevin Owens joke.
Noob.
Yeah.
Undisputed. So yeah, all I can see is that he won the WWE Tag Title with Edge. If you don't count, and even in the NWA, it's still heavyweight title, heavyweight title, heavyweight title. So the only time he ever did something was, dare I say, gave a rub on his success was the tag team match reign that he had with Edge.
Right.
Which only lasted, I think that's less than 20 days.
Yeah, it didn't last long. I remember they won it on like 4th of July.
No, they won on the 2nd of July, 2002, at a SmackDown.
Yeah, because that's when SmackDown was taped.
Oh, good
and then it aired on Thursday on July 4th. I think.
Damn, don't get hot about it.
Well, Mr. Facts Checker over there.
Well, I'm on the fly here, sir. Anyways, what more can we really say about John Cena that's gonna piss everyone else off?
Man, I really wish that I knew what my train of thought was about the mid card.
We're having dead air.
Yeah. I just know, like, how I love how people are saying, this will be a little teaser for our podcast coming up on Thursday, I hope. But people are saying Owens got relegated back to the mid card, but yet John Cena is now being pushed up to the main event. But they were just feuding right now, so it's like, so how can Cena get pushed up from nowhere to the main event, and then Kevin Owens get pushed down from nowhere to the mid card?
Because the IWC doesn't worry about logic. They go about gut feeling. If it feels right, it doesn't matter if it is actually right. They're going to roll with it.
Exactly.
And that's the thing, like, John Cena took a step down, as we mentioned before, to help elevate all these people because they're going to be the wrestlers that succeed him in a couple years.
But even though he's taken a step down, they're not viewing John Cena as that step down.
Yeah.
That's what's really pissing me off. Because they're like, oh, Cena shouldn't be in the title picture. But yet when he's not in the title picture, they're like, Cena is still main event. Because if Cena wasn't still main event, then Kevin Owens would not be de-pushed. He would just not be fighting for the title, but he's still fighting the 12-time world champion, Randy Orton. He had a match with him on Raw.
Yeah.
So it's just like...
I mean, if this was during the illustrious 434 title reign for Punk when he was in the main event every time, but he's not even in the main event of pay-per-views.
Not anymore, no.
He's barely in the main event of Raw, unless he's in a tag team, and I don't know about last week.
This week he was.
He was in the main event? But
This week,
It was a main event caliber match.
It was for the U.S. title, but he was wrestling the WWE World Heavyweight Champion,
Yeah,
which should be in the main event.
I agree. So I mean, people are just gonna make their own theories, and we're
It's
here
just
to set them right.
right. If you have a problem with Cena, have a logical problem with Cena. That I don't mind. But don't go back and forth between him being main event and him being mid card and all this. Don't go back and forth. He can't wrestle, but he's a big money draw. Don't say he's boring and still, but yet he draws.
I agree. Make your argument, make it consistent, and make sense.
Right. And I think with that, I think we're running out of time, and we're actually running out of things to piss all the Cena haters off with because we are two grown men that actually like John Cena. So if you have a problem with this, or that, or Cena, let us know, and we'll tell you how you're wrong. Um, if you need to know how to find us to find out how you're wrong, you can follow us on Twitter at PMW Podcast, like us on Facebook, Perfect Madness Wrestling. If you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the little subscribe button that you can click from this video. And otherwise, we should see you later on in the week for another Perfect Madness Wrestling podcast. Till then, I'm the Savior, and this is Jesus Oliver, signing out.
Oh, I have to hit stop the broadcast.